This is an interesting and controversial question. Are liberals smarter than conservatives? There's a new study that says the answer is yes, Louis. This is going to anger people.
Of course.
All right. 2 new studies have come out during the election season, which are going to have certainly adversarial consequences. Last year, one was done by Brock University, and it suggested that lower IQ is connected with racism and conservative beliefs. The findings are published in Psychological Science, and the study is called Bright Minds and Dark Attitudes. Lower cognitive ability predicts greater prejudice through right-wing ideology and low intergroup contact. It's a mouthful. It basically explains exactly what is going on. The idea is that the impact of cognitive ability on social attitudes is examined, for example, prejudice and conservatism, and the authors predicted that lower cognitive abilities, as measured by the subject's IQ, would lead to greater prejudice during adulthood. And the authors hypothesized beforehand that this would eventually lead those people to endorse right-wing ideology in the American political paradigm, including social conservatism and right-wing authoritarianism. We've already connected authoritarian parenting with conservative beliefs. Now we're actually taking in IQ and connecting it with that as well.
Fascinating.
So the key line here is that the results were controlled for economic and socioeconomic status. Why is that important? Usually when you get a study like this, people will say, hold on a second, you're not taking into consideration education and access to resources, income, etc. The study has adjusted for that, and it still maintains that higher IQ is associated with more liberal beliefs. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
So the authors eventually wound up suggesting that a heightened focus on cognitive ability in research on prejudice and a better integration of cognitive ability into prejudice models would be a good way to look at this. Another study assembled by procon.org, procon.org. It put together a list of 13 peer-reviewed studies, and it concluded that liberals and conservatives might not just have different political ideas, that their brains may actually be different. We've talked a little bit about a similar, one of the 13 that they look at, we talked about before, which is this idea that the fear centers are bigger in those who end up being American conservative Republicans, and that less openness to new ideas combined with bigger fear centers will actually lead you to be conservative. Your thoughts?
Right. Yeah. I mean, everything we've talked about, all the studies we've talked about seem to be lean towards the same direction, and this was it. You can expect a lot of people to try and debunk this, though.
Natan, what's your reaction? What will the counter arguments be?
Well, I don't know what the counter arguments to the study would be, but I was just thinking if this also would apply to extreme left-wing ideology. So it seems to me like a lack of, mental rigidity is something that applies to liberals, but maybe not to communists, for example. They might have a more authoritarian view of government and what it should and should not do. So I was just thinking that maybe this would also apply to extremists on both sides.
Interesting. The studies don't seem to indicate that.
Interesting.
Yeah.